She had an extra movement after the ball and just elbowed and nailed Lexi right in the face.
Sports world, just stop. Sophie Cunningham, one of the WNBA's most electrifying personalities, has just dropped a bombshell that nobody saw coming. And what she's saying about her future, it's sending shockwaves through professional basketball.
Out about this whole NBA scandalous situation. The WNBA is at the front line of it all too, because they is connected to this league. Now, I am here to tell you, the FBI is letting it be known they want phone records scheduled
right now. Okay, let me tell you something. When Sophie Cunningham speaks, people listen. She's not just another player. She's the spark plug, the energy, the personality that brings fans to their feet. And right now, she's walking away from everything she's built in the WNBA to pursue something.
Schedules the whole shebang. Now, we know just a couple of days ago, it was reported that none other than Adam Silver had to meet with the committee to discuss this whole situation.
Project B. But here's the thing. This isn't just about one player changing teams or taking a break. This is about something much bigger happening behind closed doors in women's basketball. Something that's been brewing for months. And Sophie, she's finally saying what everyone else has been too scared.
Okay, first of all, I know the history behind the WNBA. I know that both of those cities have had teams before and they got us where we're at, so I'm thankful for that.
To say out loud. Let me back up for a second because you need to understand the chaos that's happening in professional basketball right now. Both the NBA and WNBA are dealing with serious investigation. We're talking phone records being requested, schedules being subpoenaed, league commissioners being called to answer questions in front of
announced involving current player Terry Rozier and current head coach Chauncey Billups. What was your initial reaction and what have the last 36 hours been like for you?
My initial reaction was I was deeply disturbed.
Site committees. This isn't some small internal matter that gets handled with a fine and a press release. This is federal authorities knocking on doors, demanding documents from multiple teams, and turning the entire sports world upside down. The level of seriousness here, it's off the charts, and it's happening incredibly fast. So here's where it gets interesting.
There's nothing more important to the league and its fans than the integrity of the competition. And so
gambling-related scandals in professional sports way more common than we think, or is what we're seeing right now just the very beginning of something that goes much, much deeper, because once you start pulling on this thread, the whole thing starts to unravel. This situation has completely moved.
It was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA.
Beyond what any league office can handle internally. We're not talking about quiet settlements or suspensions that blow over in a news cycle. Federal authorities are requesting comprehensive records from teams, phone records, documents, property from multiple organizations. The Department of Justice is involved.
I had a pit in my stomach. It was very upsetting.
And Terry Rozier was allowed to keep playing after an NBA investigation ruled that there was no NBA rules violated. What do you make of that decision now amid?
Congressional committees are asking very pointed questions. When that happens, this isn't about one person making a mistake. This is about systemic problems that could fundamentally change how we view professional basketball. And get this, multiple reports are confirming that record requests have been sent to numerous teams. The loss
amid the FBI's allegations against him.
So what happened was, because bets were placed through legalized legal betting companies, they picked up.
Lakers have been specifically mentioned in breaking news coverage, but they're not the only ones. Multiple organizations are under serious scrutiny right now. The Lakers are just the most high-profile name that's been leaked so far. 2 Lakers staff members have already
So for us, it's just having each other's backs. It's making sure that you're constantly communicating up there to give your other players confidence to get up in the ball and
cooperated with investigators. Mike Monchase and Randy Mims voluntarily turned over their mobile phone. Now, that could mean they have nothing to hide, or could mean their lawyers told them full cooperation is the only smart play. Either way, investigators now have access to every text message, every phone call, every piece of communication.
Law enforcement, and what did the feds announce yesterday? An indictment against Rozier over 2 years later. To be fair to Terry, he hasn't been convicted yet, but he's on administrative leave, and it definitely doesn't.
On those devices. Think about that for a second. So what exactly is being investigated here? The core issue is sports gambling and information sharing. Authorities are examining whether players, coaches, or staff members were sharing insider information to help people win money on bets. And this goes way beyond just someone placing a bet, which would be bad enough on its own. We're talking about potential conspiracy to defraud using personal and privileged information for financial gain and possibly even game manipulation. These aren't just league violations. These are actual federal crimes that come with serious consequences. Now here's where it gets even more complicated. Regulators and betting companies initially brought suspicious activity to the league's attention months ago. The league did conduct an internal investigation, but they found the evidence inconclusive. Take Terry Rozier as an example. He cooperated. He handed over his phone. He sat for interviews, and the league said they found insufficient evidence to move forward at that time. But here's the massive difference between then and now. The federal government has subpoena power. They can compel testimony. They can impose serious legal consequences. League offices simply can't do that. The NBA has actually been working with law enforcement on this for over 2 years. And just recently, a federal indictment was announced against Rozier after that extended investigation. Now, to be fair, he hasn't been convicted yet. He's on administrative leave, but it definitely doesn't look good. Federal authorities have extraordinary investigative capabilities, and this investigation gained major traction after charges were filed against some pretty significant figures. Terry Rozier, a guard for the Miami Heat, was arrested and charged. Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, was implicated. These aren't fringe players or unknown assistants. These are established, respected names in professional basketball. When coaches and active players are facing federal charges, it tells you just how deep this situation really goes. And then there's the congressional oversight angle, which is particularly concerning. Congressional committees are now questioning league leadership about why the league seemingly failed to relay evidence appropriately to authorities. That suggests the league either knew about these activities or at least had relevant information and didn't properly report it. That creates a whole host of problems. It creates either the perception of complicity or makes the league look organizationally incompetent. Either way, it's a massive public relations nightmare. The Lakers keep getting mentioned specifically because of their connections to LeBron James. One of the people charged in this investigation is Damon Jones, a former NBA player who happens to be a close friend of LeBron's and has coached alongside him. Now, nobody is directly accusing LeBron of anything illegal, but authorities are requesting documents from at least 10 Lakers employees because of these connections. When your associates are under investigation, authorities absolutely want to know what you knew and when you knew it. Some people online are even speculating that this is why LeBron hasn't been playing as much recently. Maybe he's dealing with legal issues behind the scenes. Maybe lawyers told him to keep a low profile, or maybe it's just normal injury management and the timing is purely coincidental. But when investigations are swirling around your organization and people you know personally are getting charged, the speculation practically writes itself. Here's something people don't always understand. The NBA has zero subpoena powers. You don't have to talk to NBA investigators if you don't want to. But when the federal government asks you a question, you have to answer. You can try to invoke the Fifth Amendment, but they have the right to compel testimony. Grand juries are looking at evidence in ways the league simply cannot. It's a completely different level of legal authority and investigative depth. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, is facing questions that go far beyond just how the league initially handled Terry Rozier. The real question moving forward is, what are we doing to work better with authorities and gambling partners to assure fans that the integrity of the game hasn't dropped even 1%? That's what's at stake here. Trust, legitimacy, the belief that what we're watching on the court is real. Now, let's talk about the WNBA, because this absolutely affects them too. The WNBA operates under the NBA's organizational umbrella. They're connected financially, administratively, and organizationally. If the NBA is being investigated for gambling and insider information issues, you better believe the WNBA is going to be examined next. The logical progression here is to wrap up the bigger league's investigation and then springboard directly into examining the WNBA. And here's the thing, the WNBA has already faced its own controversies this season. Questionable officiating decisions, suspicious calls that change game outcomes, accusations of bias and favoritism. Nothing's been proven, but fans have definitely been vocal about things not looking right. If investigators start looking into whether referees or team personnel were sharing information with people involved in gambling, the WNBA could face incredibly serious scrutiny. The league is smaller, which might actually make coordination easier and detection harder. The charges specifically mention the use of inside information to benefit people placing bets. What kind of information are we talking about? Unreleased injury reports, game plans and strategies, players dealing with personal issues that might affect their performance, coaches planning to rest starters. All of this information is extremely valuable to gambling interests, and if people inside organizations organizations were sharing it for profit, that constitutes very serious violation. Referee involvement would be particularly devastating if refs were sharing information or manipulating games to affect betting outcomes. It would completely destroy the integrity of the sport. There's historical precedent for this. Tim Donaghy was an NBA referee who bet on games he personally officiated and made calls specifically to affect point spread. He served time in federal prison for it. If something similar is happening now, it would be absolutely catastrophic for professional basketball. The NBA has been contacting teams through their legal departments, requesting documents before formal demands even arrive. That's a smart legal strategy. It demonstrates cooperation and transparency. It's an attempt to control the narrative, but it also strongly suggests the league recognizes just how severe the situation really is. They're scrambling to limit the potential damage. When you're requesting internal documents from more than 10 employees on a single team, that indicates very serious concern. And then there's the suspicious timing of certain personnel changes. The Dallas Wings recently fired their head coach and general manager. Other teams have made sudden personnel changes that seemed odd at the time. Were those moves related to this investigation? Were organizations quietly cutting ties with people they suspected might be involved? The timing definitely raises significant questions about possible connection. The story broke just hours ago, and it's already making headlines everywhere. The New York Post, major sports networks, social media is absolutely exploding with speculation. This isn't going to be a quiet scandal that fades away in a week. This is going to dominate sports news for weeks, possibly months. Investigations like this move slowly and thoroughly. Every phone record, every email, every text message will be examined. Everyone connected to anyone under suspicion will be questioned. For the WNBA specifically, this comes at an absolutely terrible time. The league is already dealing with stalled collective bargaining agreement negotiations. Players are genuinely uncertain whether there will even be a 2026 season. Viewership and engagement increased significantly this past year, but financial stability remains a major concern. Now, at a serious investigation on top of all that, it's a nightmare scenario for a league that was finally gaining real positive momentum. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is going to have to answer some incredibly difficult questions. If any level of corruption is determined to exist in the WNBA, even on a small scale, the damage to the league's credibility would be severe. Fans absolutely need to believe that games are legitimate, that outcomes aren't predetermined or manipulated, that the competition is authentic and real. If that trust gets broken, rebuilding it takes years, maybe decades. The congressional scrutiny is particularly concerning because when elected officials start holding hearings about sports leagues failing to report potential criminal activity, it becomes more than just a legal problem. It becomes a political issue. It becomes about accountability and transparency. The NBA generates billions of dollars in revenue and has massive cultural influence. Congress wants to know why a league that powerful wasn't doing more to prevent or report these violations. Some people are defending the league, saying they can't possibly monitor every employee's personal communications or prevent every single bad actor, and that's valid to an extent. But when federal prosecutors are charging current players and coaches, when congressional committees are demanding answers, when multiple teams are facing record requests, it strongly suggests a systemic problem, not just a few isolated incidents. The phrase comprehensive investigation keeps appearing in reports, and that should genuinely concern everyone involved with professional basketball. Comprehensive means they're looking at everything, every team, every department, every single person who might have had access to valuable information. This isn't targeted at one individual or one organization. Investigators clearly believe the problem is widespread. For players and coaches who had absolutely nothing to do with any of this, it's incredibly frustrating. Their reputations are being questioned just through association. Every decision they made on the court is now being second-guessed by fans, wondering if games were somehow influenced. Even if they're completely innocent, the cloud of suspicion hangs over everyone until the investigation concludes and findings are officially released. WNBA players, specifically, are probably watching all of this unfold with growing concern. They're already fighting for better pay, improved working conditions, and more respect for their league. Now, they have to worry about whether this investigation will further damage the WNBA's reputation and financial stability. It's not fair to them, but that's the reality of being part of an organization under this kind of scrutiny. Social media reactions have been predictably intense. Some people are making jokes. Others are creating conspiracy theories about which players or coaches knew what. And many are genuinely concerned about the future of professional basketball. Comment sections are absolutely full of speculation about LeBron, about whether certain games were fixed, about which other teams will be implicated next. It's complete chaos, and it's only going to get worse as more information comes out. Sophie Cunningham actually made an interesting comment recently, though not directly about this investigation. She talked about how people see players competing intensely on the court and automatically assume that's what they're like off the court. She said said fans really need to get to know players as actual people, not just as athletes. It's a fair point, and it's particularly relevant right now. Just because someone is connected to an investigation doesn't automatically mean they're guilty. Just because federal authorities are asking questions doesn't mean everyone involved did something wrong. But here's the problem. Federal investigations don't care about nuance or public perception. They care about evidence and prosecuting crime. If people broke laws, they're going to be charged regardless of how likable they are or how much fans support them. That's how the justice system works. Professional athletes aren't exempt from legal consequences. The next few weeks are going to be absolutely crucial. NBA and WNBA commissioners will likely have to make major public statements addressing the investigation. More names will probably be leaked as documents get subpoenaed and phone records get reviewed. Teams will continue to lawyer up and cooperate with authorities because, frankly, they have no choice. And fans will continue to speculate and debate about what all of this means for the future of professional basketball. So that's where things stand right now. The investigation into professional basketball gambling is active, ongoing, and incredibly serious. Federal authorities are taking this situation very seriously. Multiple teams are implicated. Both the NBA and WNBA are facing major scrutiny. And Sophie Cunningham, she's walking away from all of it to pursue Project B. Make of that what you will. If you want to stay updated on this developing story, hit that like button and subscribe. And drop your predictions in the comments about where this all goes next, because trust me, this story is far from over.